Calculating the numbers on rental properties can be so confusing. If you don't know what the capitalization rate is, the net operating income is, what's your cash on cash return, how to figure out what your cash flow should be, and all of these other expenses that go with running a property, it could just leave you very frustrated. But in this video, I'm going to be breaking down every single cost that you should look at and you should be informed about when analyzing a rental property. So let's get into it. All right, guys, today we're going to be going over this rental property analysis, how to calculate the numbers on a rental property using the 4-pillar method. And I'm going to be talking about analyzing a property from start to finish. And what are the 4 key variables, the 4 parts, the 4 methods of analyzing a rental property that you need to know. So again, in this video, we're going to be analyzing this duplex. And again, the numbers are made up here. And I just want to make sure that you understand all the things that you need to know when you are analyzing a rental, a single family house, a multi-family house. So let's get into it. So one of the key metrics, the formulas that you need to know when you're doing this is there's 4 variations. So there's 4 things that you need to know, which are the asking price. So here I've just put simple numbers. We're going to say the asking price for this duplex is $300,000. Okay. Now, the second thing you want to know is your down payment. Is it going to be 5%? Is it going to be 10%? Is it going to be 20%? Right. So now, depending on what state you're in or province, usually you need about a 20% down payment. So we're going to put that in here. And in my formula, in my calculator here, I can select what I want: 25%, 20%, 15%, and it's going to auto populate those numbers for me. And so again, based on a 20% down, it's already telling me that my total mortgage here is going to be $240,000. Now, let's say the interest rate is 3.6, right? So your first thing you need to figure out is your purchase price. Your second formula you need to figure out, or your number you need to figure out, is your down payment. What's the percentage? The third thing you need to figure out is your interest rate, right? Because that's going to determine how much of principal and interest you're paying on the mortgage. And even furthermore, what's your monthly net cash flow going to be based on what you have to pay in your mortgage payments. And I'm not even talking about expenses, and we're going to get into that later. And the last number you need in these 4-part method is your amortization, right? Is it a 15-year amortization? Is it a 20-year, 25-year? So in this example, we're going to use 25 years for simple numbers, right? Now, the first thing you want to figure out here, when I look at a property, I want to look and I want to figure out what my return is going to be. What's my return on my investment? And I'm going to get into that, how you figure that out. So in here, in this deal, so this is a duplex, and I'll get into that a little bit later here. So this example, we need to figure out what our monthly property taxes are. So again, it's going to depend if you're paying the property taxes, you are paying the property taxes, but are you paying on an annual basis, monthly basis? So all of these numbers here are going to be based on the fact that we're paying monthly insurance, monthly utilities, monthly property taxes. So in this example, we're going to pay $260 a month to property tax. We're going to pay $117 a month insurance. And on this example, this is a duplex where all of the units are self-contained. So meaning they're paying their own utilities. So there is no water and hydro costs for us. My repair and my maintenance, on average, people have different formulas. I like to take 5% of my gross rent that I earn and I put it into a side account and I don't even touch it. And that money just sits there. Every single month, I take 5% off my gross rent and I put it into a repair and maintenance account. This should be part of running your numbers because you don't want to take all the gross income and say, hey, that's my cash flow. Well, that's not. You got to factor in what are your expenses. And part of that is setting aside money every month for repairs and maintenance. So in this example, I've used 5% here. So this tells me based on the fact that I'm getting $2,000 on the upper unit and $2,000 on the lower unit here. So I'm making a monthly gross income of $4,000. So 5% of $4,000 is $200. So again, you can see that it auto-populated that in here. I'm also going to put property management. So again, depending on if you're doing it, maybe you're not charging anything to the property on property management, or maybe you have a third party. For us, we have in-house property management and we pay 10%. So I'm going to put that in here. So property management is 10%. So again, What's 10% of $4,000 of gross income? Like I told you guys, it's 10%, which is $400 a month. So again, every single month, I'm going to take $400 and I'm going to pay my property manager to manage this property. So on this particular deal, we have strata fees or condo fees. So that's $90. And we're going to put that into a side account. And also rental vacancy, right? If this property was vacant, again, you want to account for that cost. Now, depending on what state you're in, what province you're in, a great resource for you is to go to your tenancy branch, your local tenancy branch, and they'll tell you what your rental vacancy is, right? So again, or you can even call a realtor or even a commercial banker. They usually know this information, or you can just go on Google and find it out yourself after some research. So let's say we're going to use a 3% vacancy. So again, this is not that you're going to spend this every single month, but you want to have this money set aside that if you had a tenant move out or you had someone that could have paid their rent and you had to evict them, and now let's say the property is sitting empty for a month, well, you want to account for those costs. Even if you don't have a rental vacancy every single month, you want to put that, and you're being conservative. That's the key. You don't want to run this deal like, hey, it's a perfect deal. I'm not going to have any repairs every month. I'm not going to have a vacancy every month. So again, this is all money that I'm getting in my account and I'm going to be spending that money. That's not what you want to do, because that's how you're going to get burned. You want to be conservative in your numbers, right? So now the other thing that I've put here is what I call cash required to close. What's this property going to cost me out of my own pocket to buy it, right? If I put 20% down based on the $300,000 purchase price, how much money do I have to bring to the table? So here you can see that, again, based on a 20% down on a $300,000 purchase, I'm going to have $60,000 as a down payment. I have to bring that to a bank. I got to show the bank that I have that money in an account. Now, again, we're just making up these numbers here. Let's say my inspection, I got a home inspector, that's $1,000 a month. I get title insurance on this home. Basically, that's protecting me from any fraudulent activities or any work that was done from the previous owner where they didn't pull permits or anything like that. I always suggest you buy title insurance, and usually your lawyer can do this as well. So again, that's a cost for me to buy this property. So I put that in there. And let's say on this deal, it's not a BRRRR, you're not renovating it. It's just turnkey. It's a turnkey property. So I have zero initial improvement. So I'll put zero there. My land transfer tax to buy this property, to register this property, this title, to register it from the previous owner to my name, it's going to cost money. So you got to pay land transfer tax on that. Let's say my legal costs are $800. So my cash required, so the money that I had to bring in on this deal is $63,700. So keep that in mind, because what I want to do is we need to figure out what our return on our investment is going to be. So to do that, let's go to this formula here, right? So again, we're calculating the numbers on a rental property, and we're going to be using the 4-part method here for you guys. So the first thing you want to do is you want to figure out what your return on your investment is. And how to do that is, I'm going to break it down here for you. You need to know what your monthly net profit is, right? What is your monthly net profit on this property based on the expenses, the mortgage that you have to pay? And so for us, that's what this is. Let me shut this down here. So for us, our net profit here, our monthly estimated net profit is $1,619 a month. Again, this is based on our total monthly income, right? We're getting $2,000 upstairs, $2,000 on the lower unit on this duplex. We have $2,381 of expenses. So again, if you take $4,000, you subtract it to $2,381, that's going to give you a net cash flow of $1,619, right? So let's go back to our sheet here. Now, you don't want to use monthly figures. You want to look at annual figures to figure out your return on your investment, right? So what you would do here is, again, like step number 2 here, you want to look at your annual net profit. So you take the $1,619 a month that you're making in net positive cash flow, multiply that by 12. So 12 months, that's going to give you $19,428. Now you take the $19,000, and this is the important part to figure out the ROI, the return on your investment. You want to take your annual net cash flow, which was $19,428, and you want to divide that over the initial money that you invested, right? So again, going back to this formula, what was our initial amount? It was $63,700, right? We put that money. That was money that we had to bring out of our pocket to buy this deal, right? So you take the $19,428, you divide it by the $63,700. Again, that's cash invested. That's going to give you a percentage, right? So again, this should be a percentage here. That it's actually 30.49, but you want to round it off. So it's 30.5. So your ROI, your return on your investment, the return on the money that you put into this deal, $63,700, based on the fact that you're making $19,428 of net cash flow a year, it's giving you a very good return on your money, return on your investment, right? So on here in my formula, right here, it's auto-populated, right? So again, this sheet does it for me. Again, I'm breaking it down for you guys so you understand the metrics around it and how to figure that out. Now, when it comes to real estate, everybody has different figures. I personally, when I buy a deal or when I'm looking at analyzing a property, using this formula, using this Excel sheet, I want to look at least 10, 12, 13% annually on a rental property. If I'm only making 5% ROI or 4%, to me, that's not a good deal. I can do that better. I can do better than that in a stock market. So again, I look at those numbers, and for you, that might be different, but I always suggest you want to at least be making 10, 12, 13, 14%, even more on a property, right? Now, the second thing you want to figure out, the really important thing, the metrics that real estate investors should look at is the cap rate, the capitalization rate. And basically what it looks at is this takes into consideration what your return on your investment is, what your return on your investment is annually, also what you bought the property for, and it'll help you figure out if the cap rate on this deal is good enough to buy it. So I'm going to break it down here for you. So part one, to figure out your cap rate or your capitalization rate, you need to figure out what your NOI is, right? Your net operating income. How much does it cost you to operate this property every single month, minus the mortgage payment? So that's very important. You don't need to consider the mortgage payment when you're figuring out your NOI, your net operating income. So again, for our example, the first thing you want to do is you want to figure out your monthly gross income, right? Going back to the sheet, our monthly gross income, like we talked about, was $4,000 a month here, right? 2,000 up, 2,000 down. Again, that's gross, not net. Going back to this formula, you want to look at also what's your monthly operating income, right? What does it cost you every single month to operate this property minus the mortgage? Again, right? That's why I put that in brackets, minus the mortgage payment. So if you go back here, if you take this here, your monthly taxes, your insurance, your repair and maintenance, your property management, your rental vacancy percentages, your budget, it's going to give you that formula. It's going to give you $1,167. So again, to figure out your NOI, right? We're figuring out your capitalization rate, but in order to do that, you need to figure out your NOI. So in this example, it's basically your gross income minus your operating expenses. So again, looking at these numbers, that's $4,000 subtracting $1,167, which gives us a monthly ROI or NOI of $2,833. Again, you want to take your monthly figure. So our NOI monthly is $2,833 a month, right? You take $2,833 a month. Again, you always want to annualize it. So you take $2,833, you multiply it by 12 months, so right, times 12, which would give you a NOI of $33,996 in this example, right? This is what you need to know before you figure out your capitalization rate or cap rate, right? So then what you do is you take your NOI and you want to divide that over your purchase price to get your cap rate, right? So our NOI in this example was, again, let's go back here, $33,996, right? So here you go, $33,996 divided by 300,000, right? That's what we bought the property for. and 11. So that's going to give you 11.33. You always take this and multiply by 100 to give you an even number. So 11.33. So let's go back here. And again, you can see my cap rate here is 11.33. So in the real estate world, this is a good cap rate, right? And the way that it works is the better the area, usually the more expensive the property, it's going to give you a lower cap rate, right? Cap rates usually, in a general sense, you can have high cash flow, but your purchase price is very low. So again, usually inner city areas of cities, they're going to have better cap rates. That doesn't always mean it's a good deal, but this is just a metric, right? This is just a metric that you need to know when you're analyzing a deal. So again, on the deals that I've analyzed, the hundreds of properties that we have bought over the years, I look for cap rates around a 6 to 8%. If I can get a cap rate based on the area of a 6 to 8%, that's healthy. Again, higher the better, but not always. Not always, but this is, again, a quick formula for you that you can use when you're analyzing a deal. Hey guys, thank you for watching that video. If you found a value from it and you want to learn more about some of the ins and outs when it comes to running numbers, analyzing deals, finding off-market properties, raising capital, I'm going to link up a playlist in our channel that goes over a swag of other videos that you can watch and implement and get some value from. Again, guys, we'll see you guys all in the next video.